deposit.
The public trust that was violated in this breach really is unprecedented.
Laura Fink is the spokesperson for Coast Law Group, the firm representing a class action lawsuit just filed in San Diego on behalf of a resident who alleges someone has already tried to take money out of his bank account.
We know that thieves are patient and they will wait with this information until the time is right. So now the consumers are faced with asking, what do they do to protect themselves and how much will it cost them?
Thank you, Bishop.
It is a rare day in San Diego when liberals and conservatives stand side by side to fight the same issue. Well, this is that day, and Soccer City is the target.
You know, it's no secret that our coalition has some serious concerns with the Soccer City initiative, and it's because it's not really about soccer. This is about maximizing profits for a handful of private investors.
How Trump had a really rough week. I mean, he was kind of like Kobe Bryant posting 2 and 12 last night, Raul.
Oh, come on.
You know,
come on, Lord. That's, all the politics, that was a lot.
I think he's having a really hard time because in the immortal words of Charlie Sheen, winners win. His entire campaign has been predicated on the fact that he's a winner, the other candidates are losers, and there are going to be problems because he's just going to dominate.
Yeah, go ahead.
Raul, let's talk about the moderate Republicans for a second because they, along with the institutional Republicans, are pretty afraid that, like Sarah Palin's sweater, the GOP will look like a flightless bird at the end of this campaign.
November.
But CBS News 8 political analyst Laura Fink knows Clinton has an uphill climb that includes obstacles male candidates don't tend to face.
Women are subject to greater scrutiny with respect to their looks, with respect to their dress, with respect to their tone of voice, and with respect to how they balance strength and warmth, even more than a man.
Campaign on the media against Soccer City. How do you see today?
Well, we're excited for democracy to be defended today. We want to make sure also that competition is held. We want to have an RFP process, an open bidding process, so that everybody can put their vision forward for what that 280 beautiful acres of land could be. And we want to get a good deal for the taxpayers. That means multiple bids and a real fair market value for that land.
Thanks, Steve. I'm Carla Chiquetta here with CBS News 8 political analyst Laura Fink. Let's take a look at that stunning electoral map. We looked at it earlier. We thought that AP's projections were a little red, but it's seeming like that wasn't wrong.
Right. It looks like they were not that aggressive. But let's go back and take a look at where we were with the states we thought were gray that have turned red. That's Wisconsin, that's Michigan, that's Pennsylvania. And we can look at a couple states that turned blue. We had New Hampshire fall into Hillary's camp, and then here in Nevada, we had that gray as well. So with that change, you can see that Donald Trump's path to victory is extremely broad, the opposite of what we thought going into this election. But now, let's go ahead and throw Nevada to blue. Let's go ahead and turn Michigan and Wisconsin red. Now, right now, in Michigan, for example, Hillary is up, Donald Trump is up by 80,000 votes. That means that gap's not likely to close. Same thing with Pennsylvania. He's up 60,000 votes, not likely to close. We're going to put that in the red column. We do know that New Hampshire looks blue, so that goes in Hillary's, but you can see far past the 270 votes that Donald Trump needs. This election is all but over.
So many people feeling so many different things given what we've seen with this election. Each one of them almost taking a deep breath before they step out, regardless of whatever they were feeling. Laura?
Well, he's walking into his place in history. We know that he'll be using the Lincoln Bible as well as a Bible from his childhood. And in Lincoln's first inaugural, the country was on the cusp of civil war and faced divisions even deeper, perhaps, than the ones that we see today. And so we will see if President Trump can, more than candidate Trump, call upon what Lincoln talked about as the better angels of our nature to bring those divisions together and to begin to heal.
President, this is a matter of this is a statement on this country and what we do and how we transfer power. That is the key message that we send to the rest of the world, Laura.
Absolutely, and it's not as if we haven't seen protest in the past. President Nixon, in his second term, was protested by more than 80 members of Congress due to the Vietnam War. And again, I keep going back to Dr. King as the person who really was one of our most venerable civil rights leaders. Every man man must decide on the protest that best suits his conviction. And so for some that may be ideologically opposed or even morally opposed to many of the principles of the new president, they may be standing in respect for the institutions, as you have said, as Charles has said, and others may choose not to remain so as to have that be their voice.
The imprint of the Washington Post, when Helen Copley took over after the death of her husband, Jim, she was mentored, outsourced essentially by Katharine Graham of the Washington Post. But of course, the old DNA is still pervasive here.
Well, I think the other thing to note is the market pressure. This is the first time the UT will be a public company. And let's also keep in mind that Tribune Publishing has a market capitalization of $400 million. And for those of you that weren't born with the silver stock portfolio, that's the value that the market places on the whole company. That's all 3 papers. And it's separated from Tribune Media Company, which is the bigger, more valuable asset at $5 billion. Now, the paper was bought for $85 million. That's 20% of their holdings. This is a huge outlay of capital for them and a huge risk. They're really banking on the UT and their new strategy succeeding here with the expansion of their viewership regionally. So it's a roll of the dice. Whether or not they're going to be able to play in the digital media space is a question to be asked. But that's something that I think we haven't seen in San Diego. So it's not just the big overlords from the LA that are coming in to manage our editorial pages. It's also this market pressure that speaks to what's happening in journalism more generally.
Good morning. Thank you.
There is so much to dissect from this testimony of James Comey. What was your big takeaway from what we heard?
Well, it's important to remember that this is a unique and rare view into a closed independent prosecutor's investigation. We know Robert Mueller is pursuing all of the facts in this case, but it's rare that we as a public get to see firsthand the testimony of a key witness. With former FBI Director James Comey, we saw that today as he relayed his statements, which were released to the public beforehand, and told the story of his interactions with President Trump.